Hey guys, this is Michael Sweet from Stryper, and guess what? You are watching the metal voice, the best metal voice in the world.
Welcome to another edition of the Metal Voice, and after years of trying, we're proud to say that we've got an interview with one of the greatest voices in metal today.
Yes.
Michael Sweet of Stryper. Michael, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man, and you guys are too kind. Thank you guys so much. My gosh.
Where are we calling you from?
You are calling me, or I'm calling you, whichever it was, from Plymouth, Massachusetts. So I'm not too far from you guys.
About a 5-hour drive. I've been down there.
So here we go. Let's just get into the new album right off the bat.
Right.
So No More Hell to Pay, the brand new album by Stryper, phenomenal.
Number four.
Number 4
on the top 10 list here on the Metal Voice.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
So let's start with the album cover, okay?
Yep.
I have all your albums, everything you've done. This is by far, in my estimation, the best album cover you've ever put out there.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, 100%. And you know why I think it's the best is because it kind of, as everyone can see, it plays off of the To Hell with the Devil album cover.
Right.
The original, which was one of our most popular. And it just, the colors pop, and, you know, it's very artistic. And the guy that did it, Stan Decker, I gave him some ideas, you know, use one angel being and, you know, kind of play off of the To Hell with the Devil, which he had. And he sent me that back a few weeks later, and my chin hit the floor. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. I think it just really kind of says it all. And it's eye-catching, you know. It pops right out and grabs you.
It's absolutely, the colors are gorgeous. The theme, like you said, the message it's sending, it's all there. And you know what's funny? I just want to know your opinion. Do you find that album covers influence people's perceptions of the albums or the mood of the albums?
I think that they can. I don't know that they always do, but I think they certainly can. And album covers, I mean, I don't know if it's like it was back 25, 30 years ago when you were walking through Tower Records and you saw an album and you bought it based on just what you saw.
Exactly.
You know? I don't know if it's that way today because we live in a digital age and whatnot, but I do think when people are going online, they haven't heard the tracks and they see the cover and it's powerful and they say, oh my gosh, I love this. I've actually read comments from people saying we're buying this because of the album cover alone.
For sure.
So there you go. You've answered your own question in a way, right?
Why I asked is because I found this a much more brighter, more melodic album than Reborn or Murder by Pride. And I went back to listen to those albums. Those albums are actually a little bit more popular, if I can use that term, than this album. This album's a lot more heavy. So for myself, those two album covers influenced my opinion of the album, the song itself. It sets
so
a
the
tone.
word is it sets a tone for the record. That's what it does.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you know, you mentioned Reborn and Murder by Pride. They're a little popular, and they are. I mean, Reborn was actually, everybody's probably going to be like, we've heard this before, but I'll say it again. I mean, that was a solo album that I was shopping.
I didn't know that.
Back before Stryper officially reformed, and you know, I played it for the guys, and they loved it, and we decided that if we were going to reform, the best way and quickest way to make it happen was to basically make that a Stryper album.
Okay.
So we did, and you know, that's why it's a little different, because that was originally a solo album, and then Murder by Pride, same kind of thing. You know, we weren't at that point yet where we were saying to ourselves, look, let's give the fans 100% of what they want. Let's keep experimenting. And, you know, we were still kind of trying different things. This album, however, No More Hell to Pay, this is a complete get back to your roots, give the fans 100% what they want, and make it in your face and heavy. And that's what we did.
Exactly. The lead guitar work between you and Oz.
Yeah,
it's tremendous. That brings us right back to the early days.
The guitar harmonies.
Yeah, and that's a big difference. I went back to listen to Murder by Pride and Reborn, and now thanks for explaining that, because it just says it all. It's a much more contemporary feel. The guitar, the double leads were a little lower in the mix, and now, like you said, it's right up front. And in fact, in a recent interview, I think you said that you know, you wanted to figuratively hit the listener in the face with the sound of those guitars.
We were really trying to, in a loving way, mind you.
Right.
But you know, we're a guitar band. And, you know, we always have been, and really put a lot of emphasis on guitars and focused on guitars. And that's been the way that was from the very beginning. So to record an album like Reborn and not put very many solos on, it's almost blasphemy, you know, and it's like, it's just not what Stryper should be doing. So we wanted to make sure we really focused heavily on guitars, obviously on drums and bass and vocals too, but guitars were the primary focus on this album.
What about your voice? I mean, are you a trained singer, Michael?
You know, I'm not really a trained singer. Sometimes I wish I was. I took a couple lessons when I was younger with the band, the group, by a woman by the name of Elizabeth Sabine.
Yeah.
And, you know, she worked and trained a lot of people back at that time. But I grew up in a musical family, and singing and music is kind of in my blood. And, you know, I've been singing for 50 years, and I try to do things right and take care of myself, and you know, hopefully that shows. I don't have the same voice I had 30 years ago.
I don't know about that. I think you know, the voice develops, right?
Yeah.
As we change, our body changes, and I think your voice is actually, there's a lot of more deep tones happening.
I think those deep tones, I think you're singing better than ever, personally,
Yeah, I
Michael.
think so,
I mean,
too.
those deep tones add a whole other feel to your voice.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I appreciate that, man. I do. And, you know, I haven't, if that's the case, if what you're saying is true, I certainly haven't planned that. My voice has dropped down in range a little bit. It's gotten a little grittier. And hopefully that's worked to my favor. And instead of sounding like, you know, Dennis DeYoung on steroids, on helium, now I sound like Dennis DeYoung just with no helium at all. You know?
That's right.
You know, that's well said, because I was watching the Live in Puerto Rico video, a DVD recently. And it was, you do hear that Dennis DeYoung kind of influence in your voice, or you have the same kind of tone, but like you said, a lot higher pitch. How do you still hit that first note? Like, you watch the video for Honestly, and that first note is like way up there.
You know what, man? I pick my battles and choose my battles. I mean, sometimes I can hit notes, sometimes I can't hit any notes live, and I don't hit any. It's really, I have a very quirky voice, and I'll wake up one day and can sing, and the next day I can't sing, and it's really crazy. Sometimes I look back at these albums, and I hear what I did, and then I have to go pull it off live, and I think, what was I, crazy?
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Well, when you're 20 years old, I mean, you know.
Look, if it's any consolation, Geddy Lee has the same problem.
Does he?
Big time.
I'd have to imagine so.
Well, here we go. Okay, so let's just go back
He's got that natural high voice all the time. Man.
He does. But he used to sing a little too high.
Oh my gosh.
Going back to, let's just go back in time a bit, all right? So your mother was your manager at the, I guess, the start of the band, or to the mid-years.
Was that during Rock's regime, or?
She was our manager from pretty much the start of the band. She co-managed with another woman a dear friend of ours by the name of Darren Hinton.
Okay.
And they co-managed the band pretty much from the very beginning. And then Darren left around 1980. 88, 87, 88, and then my mom continued managing us up until 1990.
Okay. So you had your brother in the band, you had your mother in the band. Did the rest of the band ever feel sort of, you know, awkward that the whole family was in the band and they weren't part of that family in a sense? Well, you know, blood, I mean, you know, those awkward family arguments, those, you know, things happen, right?
Jim always wants the dirt, Michael. He always wants the dirt.
I would say absolutely, because, I mean... You know, there were probably times when they didn't feel a part of it because my mom was managing and my brother was kind of leading the look and the visual side. I was leading the song side, and it was kind of a family ordeal. And I'm sure the other guys, Tim and Oz, did feel a little awkward. And then they probably felt really awkward when, you know, they had to get in between Robert and I throwing blows, you know.
Oh, jeez.
Robert and I never really threw blows. We did a few times when we were younger, but I mean, you know, we've had our share of heated arguments, and you know, as has Oz and I, and Tim and Oz, and Tim and Rob, and I mean, we all have, you know.
Yeah, brothers, right? Brothers.
Exactly.
You know, how about in the 1990s? Here's another little tidbit I found on the internet. you became a park ranger. You sort of like you left. I guess the band went from stadiums, right, to bars, and then the band wasn't doing so well in the '90s, right?
Well, grunge was there.
Grunge was there. Is it true? Well, I mean, I know it's true. You became a park ranger. I mean, how did it feel going from, you know, the stage where you're being admired by so many, then you're just getting a day job? I mean, was it an easy transition?
I'll tell you, it was. What happened was when I left the band in 1992, the guys tried to continue on.
Yeah.
And, you know, they did a few dates with a new singer, Dale Thompson of the band Bride.
Yeah.
And then they tried some dates with Oz singing, and Oz can sing.
Yeah, he can sing.
Oz has a good voice, but, you know, when you hear him in, you know, the harmony sense and sing backing me up on stage, he's amazing.
Yes.
But then when all of a sudden, you know, I'm gone, and then he's all of a sudden the lead singer of the band, that's a whole different scenario, you know? And I don't think it's exactly what fans wanted or expected, and for whatever reason, it didn't work.
Yeah.
And they wound up going their separate ways.
Yeah.
And then we, you know, I moved back east, joined the family business, and wound up working at a campground as I got labeled ranger, Mike. I wasn't an official ranger. Take care of the grounds and whatnot. And I also worked in the cranberry bogs.
Okay.
And I'll tell you what happened during that period. That was a 3 or 4 year period. Even though on the outside I was looking at it saying, Lord, what are you doing? You know, why aren't I doing music? But then on the inside I was creating songs and writing music, and I wound up writing a bunch of songs while I worked there, and I recorded their album Truth.
Okay. Cool. Very cool.
And that wound up being, you know, it didn't do much, but it wound up being one of the best records I've ever been a part of, and I'm very proud of that record. And so it really built me and shaped me as a solo artist and as a musician in terms of my creativity.
And it grounds us too, right? When we're taken off that stage or the limelight, and suddenly you're putting into a day-to-day job, right? It really grounds you as a person.
It absolutely grounds you, and that's the other thing I was going to say, and thank you for reminding me. It does. It humbles you.
Yeah.
And you realize, okay, you know, maybe I'm not the Superman that I thought I was.
That's right.
In 1988.
Yeah.
You know, and when you're on top of the world and you think you're invincible,
that's right,
and unstoppable, well, you are invincible, and you are unstoppable, and you're flesh and blood, and we're all brought into this world the same way, and we all go out the same way. And I think sometimes we get caught up in ourselves, and yes, that situation definitely humbled me and made me realize, look, you know, I'm just a man.
Absolutely.
And going back to the 80s, you know, we listened to Stryper, music, and the message that was being sent, all positive stuff. But also, you were being criticized at the time by a lot of the TV evangelists that no, metal, singing Christian metal, that's forbidden.
I mean, I remember when this happened, Michael. I mean, we were that's when we started listening to hard rock, heavy metal, and you know, you had King Diamond on one end, and you had Michael Sweet and Stryper on the other end. And everybody's getting criticized for every reason possible, right?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to compare the two. I'm just trying to say that not only were you getting shots from the church.
We got more shots from the church than we did mainstream. I
exactly.
think.
Yeah.
And you know, it was one thing to have a local pastor, come out and protest our shows or a show. That was one thing. And we would always go out and say, hey, man, you know, here's some tickets. Why don't you come in and check us out? And 9 times out of 10, they would say, you know, we've never seen you or heard you. Yeah. And we'd say, well, why are you protesting us then?
Yeah.
You don't even know what we're about. Are you kidding? And they'd come in, and then their views would be changed. But what really hurt is the guy that actually brought us to God and you know, helped us to devote our lives to God was Jimmy Swaggart.
Yeah.
And he used to hold our records up on television and say, these guys are wolves in sheep's clothing, they're phonies, they're fakes, they're of the devil, don't support them. And then not long after that, he was busted with a prostitute in his car.
Yeah, and that was my follow-up question. Was there any vindication? Did you feel anything when these guys were literally being caught with their pants down?
Well, that's the thing. You know, even though it hurt that this guy that brought us to God was coming against us, it really did hurt. because we looked up to him and admired him, and he was kind of our mentor, so to speak, our spiritual mentor. What really surprises with Jimmy Swaggart is when he was busted and arrested and had those charges against him, is it showed us that he's only human.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And instead of putting him on a pedestal, which we did, like some people do to us, we just viewed him as just a man who makes mistakes. And the key is, don't put your trust in man, put your trust in God, because man's always going to let you down.
There are critics who say Stryper, I mean, they're not real metal. They believe in God, or they're Christians. But that's not how I look at it. I look at it, it's a positive, it's a positive experience. And you know what? There's enough negative in the world. And it's great. I love the negative bands too, don't get me wrong.
I love the negative bands too.
But when you need some positive in your life.
I agree, 100%. And it's back to what you said about some people say, they're Christian, it can't be metal, this and that. That is an argument that I hear over and over again, and something I just would like to say about that. It's really, if you really break that down,
sure,
metal is always associated with the devil.
Yeah, it's strange.
Whether anyone wants to admit that or not, that's true. Okay, it's usually always associated with the devil, and most metal bands have pentagrams and satanic imagery, blah 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 blah. Yeah. And here's what's funny about that. So metal is cool if it's about the devil, but it's not cool if it's about God. And if you're saying you believe in the devil, then you must believe in his creator, which would be God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But metal's not cool if it's about God, who's the guy that created, the one that created the devil. Yeah. So it's really silly when you break it down. I mean, it's about the music. Is it cool? Is it not? Is it good? Is it bad? What is it? And it's like, for some reason, we always get pigeonholed because we have that tag Christian. But you know what? We go out on stage after stage and we'll play with whether it's Testament or Raven or Slayer in the future, whoever it is, and 9 times out of 10, most of the people there will leave saying, "Oh my gosh, I had no idea these guys actually can rock."
Oh, for sure.
Do you still throw Bibles? We still throw
Bibles, man.
That's
yeah.
Cool. That's
but
cool.
Going Dave Mustaine too, with his newfound Christianity, he said there are some bands he won't tour with. Is there any band out there that you won't tour with because of their lyrical subject matter?
Oh gosh, I've never really broken that down. Like, we almost had the opportunity to go tour with Slayer, and we were really excited about that. That's a complete contradiction.
Heaven and Hell tour.
It would have been awesome. I mean, we look forward to those kinds of things. I'm sure there are some bands we may not tour with. I don't know, but we've never really thought about that or come across that or said, "Hey, we won't tour with this band." So I'd be curious to know which bands Dave won't tour with.
Oh, you mentioned a few in the book. I don't remember them offhand right now. It
was Rotting Christ, I think.
Oh, it could be.
It could be. Maybe I'm wrong.
But
yeah. See, okay. I know there's some bands, like we went overseas to Sweden. We played Sweden rock, and there was some dark, black metal band over there that they were urinating on a Stryper album, and there was a video of it going around, and then they put gasoline lighter fluid on it, and they were going to burn it. And the funny thing is when they were trying to light it, it wouldn't light. And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe that's because you just urinated on it.
That would be my guess. Unless you had a high enough alcohol level in your urine, maybe.
It was really funny. And I mean, those kinds of bands, I guess they're out there, and they just absolutely hate God and would probably, burn our equipment on stage and jump into the crowd and start beating up our fans. I don't know if we tour with bands like that. I have no clue.
But looking back, I mean, you were one of the first Christian metal bands out there. What were some of the, maybe the worst experience opening up or something? There's all kinds of bad stories going around. It was difficult at the beginning, right?
We played a festival in Holland where the whole crowd was chanting F Stryper, F Stryper, F Stryper. They were burning an upside down cross with Robert's head on a girl in a bikini.
Wow.
They wanted to kill us, basically. Talk about it in the book. I have a book coming out, and I get into
book.
Details. But you know what? It's like we've faced those situations many times, and it's kind of scary sometimes.
Well, I think.
Because you think, okay, are we going to get out of here? Are we going to die? I mean, it's as silly as that may sound. When you're in that situation, it's scary.
Yeah.
And we went out there and we told the ballads, we played all the hard rock songs, and we were having bottles thrown at us, food, a padlock and chain whizzed by my head. But you know what? After 3 songs, I don't know what happened, but we won them over. The whole crowd went from booing us to cheering us, and we won that whole crowd over. It was like 12,000 people.
There you go. Let's talk about the book a bit. Since
Oh
you
yeah,
just
sorry,
brought it up.
yeah, the book. Sorry.
When's that due out?
Well, you know, we're finally wrapping up and locking into a release date. It's been in the works for 2 years.
Okay.
Which is insane to me. But you know what? I'm reading other stories about people writing books that's taken 2 and 3 years, and I basically had to rewrite it and edit it 3 times. And it's coming out next year. We're looking at a potential time frame of possibly May.
Okay.
For the album and the book. And I'm really excited about it, man, because it's an autobiography. I get into a lot of stuff in the book that people might be surprised to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, from when I first wanted to do music to when I joined Robert's band to when I left Stryper to, you know, our issues internally within the band, bankruptcy, mismanagement. I get into being on my own solo-wise and, you know, losing everything and then regaining everything, and then my wife getting sick with cancer and, you know, losing her and remarrying and all the issues with that and being in Boston. There's so much stuff in there, you know.
Wow.
And you said an album is going to accompany this?
A solo album is going to accompany that, yes.
Great, yeah.
All right.
Kind of like
the solo record has some songs that you guys will love, some real edgy stuff. There's a song called "Taking on the World Tonight" with Tony Harnell guesting on it.
Right, from TNT, right?
Yeah, TNT. Yeah. There's some real riffy, edgy stuff that could fit right on "No More Hell to Pay," and then there's some stuff that's more on the lighter edge, and you know, it's very eclectic and diverse in terms of being a record.
Do you pull out the acoustic guitar?
I pull out the acoustic on a couple songs, and I even pull out a steel guitar on a couple songs.
There you go.
Nice. Michael, we got some fan questions. You ready?
I think so.
We'll find out.
All right. From Kelly in the USA, do you feel that being a Christian band has helped or hurt you over the years?
I think that's a double-edged sword. I think it's helped us.
Yeah.
In regard to, and we never set out, we never, you know, decided to be a Christian band for it to help us. I mean, we just did it because that's what our calling is and that's what we wanted to do. But I think it's helped us in some ways, but I think in more ways it's hurt us and hindered us because Christianity is not popular. You know, for some reason the world gets up in arms over Christianity and, you know, religion and, you know, using the name of God in schools and prayer, and they want it removed and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I don't know why it's that way, but it is.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, politics and religion, man, are just not very popular, and people get up in arms. But we knew that going into it, that it was going to be a tough road, and I think it's held us back at times, but I think it's also helped us at times. So I think it's a little bit of both.
So on the business side of things, you're saying it kind of hindered your band,
well,
but in a spiritual sense, it helped you.
I think so. In a spiritual sense, it's helped us, and God's done a lot for this band, and the Christian fans out there have done a lot for this band and are incredible. But where it's hurt us, I believe, is, you know, when we're labeled a Christian band, and then MTV hears that, and they say, oh, yeah, no, we're not going to play a Christian band video. That's how it's hurt us.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
That's not cool. Andreas from Germany, how did you get to believe in Jesus? I guess what was the calling?
Well, my family started watching Jimmy Swaggart on television when I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
And, you know, we always we went to church on and off, and there was always a little bit of that there in our family growing up. But at the age of 12 is when we started devoutly and every day or every weekend watching Jimmy Swaggart, and we wound up accepting God and wanting to, you know, live for God. And we got into a church, went to church on a regular basis, and then I fell away.
Sure.
And I didn't want anything to do with Christianity for a long period of time because I got into the Hollywood club scene.
Yeah, well.
And I did that from the age of like 13 and a half, almost 14, all the way up until the age of 20.
Wow.
Okay.
And that's when I decided I had had enough of that. I did the alcohol, drugs, and women and all that stuff that goes along with that.
In the book?
Yeah, and I just figured, you know what, this is leading me nowhere. And I was watching all my friends, you know, waking up on the street in their own vomit, and so we went down a different path, and I'm glad that we did.
All your friends became Motley Crue. Don't you? You can say it. Just say it.
Well, we were playing the clubs with Crew, not with Crew, but you know, we'd be playing Gazzari's or the Troubadour, and they'd be playing, you know, the Starwood or the Whiskey. We
got a question from Stiff Rod. He's a longtime viewer, a friend of mine. He's one of those guys, like Jimmy was saying earlier, was listening to Venom at the same time he was listening to Stryper.
Like he was getting, you know, he was listening to Venom, he felt bad, so he started listening to Stryper to feel better. Right?
I always thought that was quite the dichotomy between the two, you know, no gray areas, right?
You know what's cool? You know what's really cool about that is, nothing against Venom, but, you know, I feel that, you know, for every dark room, we need a light in it.
Absolutely.
And Stryper's a light in the world, a light in the dark. And, you know, I think it's cool to hear people say they're listening to Venom and then listening to Stryper at the same time. That's pretty awesome.
Well, wasn't a Rod's question?
He's a former drummer, so he wants to know, why does Robert play at an angle and not face on to the crowd?
Does he still do that?
Well, you know what? Just recently, at the last few shows, Robert played straight on.
Oh, really? This is like a revelation here.
It is a revelation. And, you know, we recorded a live show album and DVD at the Whiskey recently, and he's playing straight on, so you'll see it in there.
Also, well, let's go to the tour. Where's the tour going to land up for this next the album?
We're planning on touring throughout Europe. We haven't been to Europe in a while, since 2010, believe it or not. Okay. So we're going to tour Europe, we're going to tour Canada, we're going to tour U.S., we're going to tour South America. We're hoping to go to Mexico for the first time ever.
Okay.
Believe it or not. And also Australia, hopefully Japan. It's been a long time since we toured Japan. Right. We went over and did Loud Park in 2011, but we haven't toured there since '89.
Wow.
So, you know, and we were very popular in Japan and had quite a following, and unfortunately we haven't kept up with that, sadly. You know, we love Japan, man. We love the people of Japan, and we can't wait to get back there.
So let's just wrap it up. Everyone, go out and buy the new album by Stryper, No More Hell to Pay. Phenomenal tracks like Renewed,
Top
Sympathy, Revelations,
Number 4.
Written in the minor key. The whole album written in minor key. It's phenomenal. Great singing, phenomenal guitar tones. What else can we say about the
Everything
album?
you want from a Stryper album.
Cover. Beautiful album cover. Fantastic guys. Positive message. What more can you want? Go and buy it or legally download it. Also, Michael, we want to thank you for coming on our show.
You guys are awesome. And in closing, I just want to say one other thing that's going to come as a shock I haven't mentioned yet is on the new No More Hell to Pay album.
Yes.
Robert is playing all the guitars, and Oz is playing bass.
Wow.
I'm playing drums, and Tim is actually singing.
Wow, there we go. Is that in your book? Put
That's
in your
an exclusive. Tim does a great impression of you.
Okay,
hey
Michael.
Guys, it's been a pleasure, absolute, unbelievable pleasure. You guys are amazing. I love how you do things, and I love your spirit. And thank you so much for the support and the kind words and the great reviews, man. You guys are awesome.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.